What's up, Spellslingers and Highlander enthusiasts? Havoc here, and today I'd like to present you with another Brawl deck tech. Now, one of the biggest surprises, at least to me, is how powerful the blue-white control / mid-range decks are doing right now in Standard. With arguably the best cards in Standard right now, the blue-white historic or control decks are popping up everywhere as we get closer to the Dominaria Pro Tour. And I'm anxiously waiting to see if this archetype can put up good results there, but this channel isn't about Standard, it's about Brawl and EDH, so what does all this have to do with what I'm talking about today? Well, if you look in most of these deck lists, there's one card that is definitely a surprise to me, and that's Raff Capashen Ship's Mage. But I don't know why I'm surprised here. In my set review, I said not to sleep on this legend, because he's basically a Voldakan Orrery for historic cards, which seems really good. So let's examine this potential general here. Raff Capashen is a 4-mana 3/3 legendary human wizard in Azorius colors. He's got flash, he's got flying, and he also gives all of your historic spells flash as well. Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff going on here, and I like it. Remember, historic cards are all artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. So what's the benefit of flash? Well, for one, it lets you be incredibly flexible in your play. Being able to cast the majority of your deck on your opponent's instep gives all of your historic spells a massive amount of protection, which cannot be overstated here. And secondly, it's not just protection that this flash ability gives us, it also lets us be reactive. Many times we're casting spells not knowing what or how our opponents will respond to it. With flash, it lets you put out the right creature or artifact at the right time. In my deck, there are over 20 spells that you can flash in, and then you add in the amount of instant speed spells that we're running, and this is just a control player's dream. So enough talking about it. Let's look at all of these things that we want to flash in. I'm splitting it into two different categories, legends and artifacts. First, let's talk about the legends. Baird, Steward of Argive. This is a great legendary creature that we can flash in, and it taxes our opponents if they want to attack us. This is kind of a worse version of Ghostly Prison or Propaganda, but we don't have access to those in Brawl, and this is the only thing in the format that does this. And this is exactly what we want to be doing to help our strategy. We want to slow the game down and really attack our opponent's mana base if they want to attack us. We also have Traxos, Scourge of Krug. Now, this is just an awesome, big, legendary artifact creature that we can flash in. And with it, we also have some support, and the fact that we're running all of these other historic cards, it should make it easy for us to untap him whenever we need to. Then there's Lyra Dawnbringer. Oh, the Baneslayer Angel is back in Standard, and she is awesome and a great finisher for a control deck like this. And even if we're losing, being able to flash out Lyra to either eat a minion and get that lifelink, or just to be able to attack right away and get us back into the game is just so good. Lyra is awesome. Another potential finisher for us is Azor the Lawbringer. Now, speaking of commander staples that we aren't able to run here, this is basically Sphinx's Revelation on a stick. And since we can't cast Sphinx's Revelation, we can do the next best thing by casting it over and over and over again as we attack in with Azor. And the final legend that we can flash in isn't a creature at all, but a planeswalker in Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Now, everyone has been talking about this card, and it is good. I was able to play with it at the pre-release, and I'm pretty sure this is the reason why I went undefeated. Teferi is so strong, and if he sticks on the battlefield for more than 2 turns, it's going to get out of control with how much value he can give you. Now, running planeswalkers in a multiplayer game is always very difficult, and that's one of the great things about being able to flash him in at your opponent's instep. Now, flashing in planeswalkers doesn't mean you get to activate their abilities right away. You have to wait until your turn. But again, we're after that protection here. So hopefully you'll be able to set up the board so you can protect him and get a lot of value out of this Planeswalker. And the last thing I want to say about Teferi is that he's also a potential replacement general for you. You know, if you want to be running a Planeswalker as your commander, then go ahead and do that. That's the great thing about this deck, is that you can switch these two out depending on what you want to play or what you're up against. Either way, I think the deck works well in this control theme. Next, let's look at the artifacts that we can flash in. Walking Ballista has just been terrorizing Standard for the last year and a half, so why not run him here and machine gun down some of our opponent's creatures while we're at it. Voltaic Servant is a great low-cost artifact that we can flash in, and it combos perfectly with Traxos. We also have Skittering Surveyor, which helps us ramp or fix our mana in the early game. And the final artifact creature that we're running is, of course, Torrential Gearhulk, another standard staple for any deck that's running blue. And like I said earlier, we're running a lot of instant speed spells in this deck, so there definitely will be a target for Torrential to flash back for us. Thematic Compass is a great low-cost artifact that we can, again, flash in. It gives us ramp early and gives us great protection later in the game. And we also have Treasure Map, which smooths out our draws early in the game and can just give us straight card draw later. All good things, in my opinion. Cultivator's Caravan is a 3-mana artifact that helps us ramp, and really it doesn't do much more than that, but who knows, there might be some reason to crew it up sometimes. Mirage Mirror is a great include in this deck if we're going with the control theme here. Just being able to copy someone else's creature or artifact or some crazy enchantment that they put out is just good. And not to mention those legendary lands that can get out of control in any game. Sticking with control, of course, we have to run the newly reprinted Icy Manipulator. Just great to be able to tap down someone's creature that's going to be attacking us, and this is exactly what we want to be doing in this deck. Finally, we have the Immortal Sun. Now again, if you're exchanging Teferi for Raff as your commander, then you definitely want to take this one out. But for Raff, this is exactly what we want to be doing, and is going to be awesome if we can get it onto the board. Now, there's two others that don't really fit in either of these two categories, and they are History of Benalia and Search for Azcanta. Search for Azcanta is a legendary enchantment, so that means we can flash it in. And History of Benalia is the only saga that really works well for us here, and flashing it in on your opponent's end step can just be devastating. Next, let's take a look at the counter magic suite that I'm running for the deck. Essence Scatter is bound to find a target in a multiplayer game. You just hold on to this until it's going to make a big impact, and it's just awesome. No one ever sees this coming. Disallow is still in the format for a few more months, and so we might as well get our use out of it now. This is just an awesome counter spell. Why not run it? We have Wizard's Retort. Remember, Raff is a wizard, and so this is just counter spell, so why not run it? And finally, we have Spell Swindle. This is just a great card that helps us ramp and helps us do everything that we want to be doing, and those artifacts could maybe potentially untap Traxos for us. Who knows? I mean, the possibilities are endless here, so why not run Spell Swindle? In our removal package, we are starting out with Blink of an Eye. Now, this is not just good for bouncing an opponent's creature to their hands, but it can also be used for protection, or potentially to reset History of Benalia. Seal Away is a new card in Dominaria that is just in every white deck now, so get used to it. It's just good. We also have good old Cast Out for us. Just gives us so many options, either to cycle it away if we need the card draw, or to flash this in and it fits with the theme of the deck. We also have Ixalan's Binding. We can't flash this one in, but it takes care of any threat for us. And finally, Angel of Sanctions. Again, can't flash this one in, but it's just a great creature, and we can do this twice in a game. So yes, absolutely, I want this creature in the deck. And now some other cards that don't really merit having their own category. This is just the other stuff in white and blue that is good that I think we want in the deck. We have Merfolk Trickster. This is just awesome if you've been playing Dominaria Limited or Draft or whatever. You know that this card is so annoying, so let's run it ourselves and annoy our friends. Daring Archaeologist just synergizes so well with everything that this deck wants to be doing. It gets bigger with every historic cast, And when it comes in, it can also get back from the graveyard one of our artifacts that might have been removed in the early game. We're running Pull from Tomorrow and Glimmer of Genius for some card draw. And some quasi sweepers here. We're running Settle the Wreckage and River's Rebuke. River's Rebuke can just ruin a token player's day, and both of these can just set you up for the win or buy you time if you need it. Since we're playing control, we have to run our obligatory copy of Approach of the Second Sun. This is a win con for us if our creatures aren't able to get through, and if we are able to hold them off long enough, this will just win us the game. And our final card before we get to our mana base is Authority of Consoles. And we get a lot out of this enchantment for our 1 mana investment. Having our opponent's creatures come in tapped is actually a huge deal. And if you've been on the receiving end of this, you know just how frustrating it can be. And the life gain is also nice for a control deck. In our mana base, we're running Evolving Wilds and Field of Ruin, again, like in all of my Brawl deck techs, to take care of those pesky legendary lands running around the format right now. We're also running Desert of the Mindful and Desert of the True, just to have those cycling cards later on in the game if we need it is nice. The 2-color lands in the format right now for blue and white are Glacial Fortress, Irrigated Farmland, and Meandering River. With this, we're running 8 plains and 9 islands. So there you have it. As you can see, there are a lot of powerful cards in blue and white right now, and that's why the standard meta is trending towards these colors. And if the card is good in standard, then chances are it's going to be pretty good in Brawl as well. This deck was my attempt to do what the standard deck is all about, controlling the early game and dropping in some great finishers later. Now, to me, this deck looks like a lot of fun, and if you like control, then this might be the deck for you, unless you're one of those degenerate Brawl players out there, but we won't get into that right now. But I want to know what you think. What cards am I forgetting here? What would you add? Or is Teferi just the better commander for this deck in your opinion? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, take a look around. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.